Ladies and gentlemen, great to see you all here again for our second live presentation from the kitchen at 3 Hawthorne Place. First of all, I'd like to say a massive thank you for watching the live stream last time, and also just the overwhelming response of great feedback that we've received over the last few days. It's absolutely incredible. So thank you very much, and I'm very much looking forward to doing the second one. So today, you might have seen yesterday that I posted a video up at the top of Saintbury Hill, which I rode my bicycle up before, unfortunately, the chain snapping and Polly having to come and rescue me. Probably something to do with the amount of food I'm eating. That's probably why the chain snapped, but hey, you know, these things happen. Anyway, the chain snapped up there, Polly came to rescue me, and just so happened to be a massive carpet of wild garlic. Smelled absolutely incredible, and so we thought, actually, let's pick some of this and let's do something with it. Let's make use of the wonderful stuff and create something with it. So this evening, what we're going to do is we're going to use some wild garlic to make a wild garlic pesto, and I'm going to show you how you can use that same wild garlic pesto to dress some rack of lamb with, to make some wild garlic pesto pasta. I mean, pesto pasta is just a classic home favourite. And then the other thing we're going to do is dress a tomato and mozzarella salad with it, with some freshly torn basil from our plant here. That's not looking too healthy, but you know, it's well on the way to being healthy as the summer months you know start to come in. So have a look at what we've got, what we're going to use. So we've got our rack of lamb here. This is Tottenham rack of lamb. Basically, it's farmed locally. These lambs are grown up on local soil. Obviously, lamb's in season now as well, which is great. You know, it's so good to use stuff that's in season when you can. Wild garlic, like I said, we picked this the other day. Got some courgette here. Forgot to mention we'll be doing a courgette and wild garlic pesto salad. Again, really easy one to do. We'll use this cucumber up because it needs using. Some hazelnuts, which we're going to make the wild garlic pesto with. Heritage tomatoes. I love heritage tomatoes because the amount of colour in them is just fantastic and really adds to the appearance of the plate quite a lot. Here I've got some olive crumb. We'll talk about that later. Got some lovely organic mozzarella here, feta cheese, salt and pepper, olive oil, rapeseed oil, and that's about it. So without further ado, let's crack on with the evening. So we'll start with wild garlic pesto. Now, wild garlic, as everyone I'm sure knows, has an absolutely wonderfully bold, robust flavour. So what I always tend to do, not only to dumb the flavour of it down slightly, but also to really get the colour out of the leaves, is to just plunge the garlic in boiling water before we use it. And that just like like I say, it sort of stuns the chlorophyll pigment in the leaf and makes that wild garlic a bright, vibrant green colour, which we will see later on when we mix it in with the pasta, I'm sure. So, nice boiling water, literally rolling boil there. A good helping of salt in the water. Obviously, salt helps with the flavour, and also it makes the water hold its temperature slightly more as well. Quantity-wise for wild garlic, you don't want too much, okay? Like I said earlier, really pungent ingredient, and if you put too much in, it's just going to be too garlicky. So I've gone for a good handful there. I mean, just have a look at that. It's not too much. Probably about 20 leaves. I'm going to pop in there, and literally I want to just plunge this into the water, just drown it in the water, and then get it out pretty swiftly. So that goes into the water, and it's pretty much as soon as it looks like spinach, or maybe not quite that far, we're going to take it out of the water. And this is also really good, you know, if you've picked up a bit of dirt on it, it just makes sure that you're not cooking that dirt into the food. Okay, so it's had probably all of about 20 seconds in in the water, and I'm now plunging this into a bowl of ice cold water, just to chill it down as quickly as we possibly can. So that's the wild garlic ready to make into a pesto, and we're going to use that pan again actually later on to boil our pasta in. So we'll leave it there for the minute. Now, the other thing I'm going to put in this pesto is some hazelnuts. Now, whenever you use hazelnuts, it's always a good idea to just roast them quickly. Say quickly. They take about 6 minutes or so on 200, just to get the skins to loosen up on the outside of the hazelnuts. And not only do we roast them to get to loosen up the skins on the outside, so we can get rid of some of the skin, which is quite bitter, but also when you heat the nuts up, they release all the essential oils in them, which are where we get the fantastic flavour of the nuts from. So I'm just going to pop those in the oven, like I said, 200 degrees, about 6 minutes. I haven't got my phone with me today, so I'm going to have to just use the clock on the wall. So 6 minutes, about 8:15. I'm going to need to get those hazelnuts out. If you can remind me, because I haven't got an alarm clock, that'd be fantastic, because I'll probably lose myself in some sort of cooking frenzy. So the wild garlic pesto, we've got our blanched wild garlic, we've got our hazelnuts that we've put in the oven to roast for 6 minutes, and we've got feta cheese. So these aren't common ingredients for a pesto, but they're ones I've found have worked really, really well with the wild garlic. And the feta cheese has a lovely saltiness to it. It's got a really bold flavour which carries well with the bold flavour of the wild garlic. And likewise, the hazelnuts also have a really bold flavour to them. So it's really simple. It's three main ingredients in the pesto, and then we're going to add extra virgin olive oil to it and a little bit of rapeseed oil as well. I tend not to use just extra virgin olive oil because it can have a slightly bitter taste. So it's good. It's good to just mix it half and half with the rapeseed oil, and then you still get that lovely flavour that you get from the olive oil, but then it sort of numbs down the bitterness of it as well, which is great. So yeah, wild garlic pesto made with hazelnuts, feta cheese, and wild garlic. Super. So that wild garlic now, I'm going to get it out of our water. I'm just going to pop it on a tea towel, a nice clean tea towel, to strain. Okay, so we'll just get it out. Lovely. So just fold the tea towel in half and just pat it to get rid of some of that water out of it. Good. Now, I'm not going to use a Magimix or a food processor or a Thermomix or anything like that to make this pesto. I'm just going to literally do it with a knife, and then the hazelnuts, when they come out, I'm going to crack those up in a tea towel. So with the knife, just running that through the wild garlic, and I can smell it now. It's really, it really is quite pungent. And if, like I say, if you were to use it raw, you find that the flavour's just a little bit too bold. Okay, but we do want to slice it up really nice and fine. Lovely, just like that. So I'm going to mix this up in a mixing bowl. I'm just going to pick up that wild garlic, pop it in the bowl there. Lovely. Now, quick trick. I'm going to put in the olive oil and the vegetable oil. What I'm going to do is actually weigh the oil into the bowl, and that just saves you messing up a measuring jug, which is great, because it means at the end of the day you've got less washing up to do, which is a real bonus, because so many times you cook and you just have so much washing up that it takes the fun out of it. And trust me, I'm much a veteran to it. So like I say, rapeseed oil we're going to put in. Let me just zero the scales actually quickly. We're just going to put about 40 mils of that in, and like I said earlier, equal quantity of this lovely extra virgin olive oil as well, okay? Which is going to take a little while. Come on. I don't know why they put these stupid pourers into bottles. It just makes everything take so much longer, but you know, I'm sure there's a reason. Lovely, and that's taken us up to 80 grams. So we've got 40 grams of rapeseed oil and 40 grams of extra virgin olive oil. We'll just wash that up before it goes back on the oil bottle. Now, what I've got here is a block of feta cheese.
Nuts.
The nuts. It's not 1:15 yet. We'll have a look at them. Oh, they're actually not far off, to be fair. Another minute or so. Good. Feta cheese. We need about 150 grams of this, so I'm just going to guess that block was a 200 gram block, so I'm just going to get about 3/4 of it, and that makes 150 grams. And that we're literally just going to crumble it into the wild garlic. There. So feta, wild garlic, olive oil, rapeseed oil in that bowl thus far. Other cheeses you can use for this, I mean, you could use the classic Parmesan, but it's nice to, you know, just step off the standard trail every now and again. You could use a bit of Lincolnshire poacher. That's a lovely crumbly cheese. I'd say any cheese that crumbles nicely or you can grate really, really finely is about right. Now, I'm going to say that those hazelnuts are about done now, and we're going to tell that the hazelnuts are done because the skins on them are just going to be starting to crack slightly, and you can see when you look at those, the skin on them is just starting to come off. So,
can I eat one?
Oh, you can if you want. Yeah. There we go. Lovely. Don't burn your tongue on them. Good. So before we do anything with those, just going to let them cool down a little bit, and then we'll rub them around in our hands, and that's going to start pulling some of the skin off them. Okay. So in our bowl here, we've got our feta cheese, our wild garlic, olive oil, and rapeseed oil, and that's looking absolutely delicious. Fantastic. Super. So, one thing with this as well, you know, if you haven't boiled quite enough wild garlic at the start, I might not have done, but we can always add it later on, but you can never take it out, so always best just add a little bit in, and then you can always add to it later on if needs be. So, now I'm going to get on with preparing the rack of lamb, because that's going to take a little while to cook. Rack of lamb, obviously lamb, like we said earlier, is in season now, which is just fantastic. So we can use some of this lovely lamb, and ours has come from Toddenham Farm up in the hills nearby here. Rack of lamb has this cap of fat on the top, and all that fat is really valuable flavour. Whenever you cook anything that's got fat on it, it's always good to score the fat. So, you know, if you're cooking a duck breast, score the fat before you cook it. If you're cooking rack of lamb, score the fat before you cook it. If you cook pork, you know, you always score the rind. So I'm going to do that with this, and I'm just going to, when I score it, my knife's literally just going through the fat. I'm trying not to cut into the meat at all. So if we find, you know, that one's probably arguably slightly too deep because it's gone into the meat a little bit, but you know, we're looking at really just going into through the fat. I'm just going to go one direction. Those scores are probably about 2 centimeters apart. The rack of lamb has been sat out the fridge for about an hour. I tried to let the meat come up to room temperature, and the reason I've done this, if you try and imagine, how can I explain this? A mussel. If you've got your arm and you plunged it into boiling water, which effectively this is a mussel, and we're going to plunge this into an oven. But you know, it makes your arm's going to go really, really tight and tense. So it's good to sort of bring the lamb up to temperature slightly before it goes in the oven. So I'm just going to get some salt, sprinkle this over the fat side of the lamb, and then I'm also going to just put on a little bit of this coarse pepper. Now, whenever I do meat in an oven, I'd always use coarse pepper, because if you have your pepper too fine, it just scorches and burns. So what I'm going to do is just pop that pepper on there, and we'll put our pan on. And whenever you seal meat, you want a nice high heat. Again, fat on the meat, so we can put the rack of lamb in a cold pan, and the fat's going to render out the meat. So you don't actually need to put any oil in there, but just give it a good amount of pressure on the pan. Okay, like I say, high heat, good amount of pressure on the meat, so we're getting as much of that fat in contact with the surface of the pan, and then it should just start to render nicely, and you know the fat should turn to liquid, some of it anyway. And then what that leaves us with is a lovely crispy bit of fat on the outside. Okay. Now with this lamb in the pan, I got some rosemary out of the garden earlier. Rosemary is a fantastic herb to grow at home. You know, you pay what 80-90p for a packet of rosemary. There's no point in paying for it because it's so easy to grow. It grows in quite well, pretty much any soil, to be honest. You know, almost the worse soil the better for rosemary. So we'll pop that in the pan. And actually, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to pop a little bit of oil in there as well, and that's just going to help start frying the rosemary, frying the lamb, and getting all the flavours blending together nicely. Good. While that's frying off, let's get rid of that, or wash that tray, ready to bake it in the oven on. And wash the tray, give it a dry it off quickly. Doesn't need to be perfect. And we can start preparing our hazelnuts. So, we'll just, what I'm going to do is pick some hazelnuts up in my hand. I'm going to rub them in the palms of my hand to try and get the skin to come off. Now, I'm going to stop there because the skin on these, this one's just not quite ready to come off, but that's not the end of the world. I'm just going to pop them on this heat now. As long as we get rid of most of it, that's absolutely fine. Oh, hazelnuts are going everywhere. So you can see all that skin is just sifting out under my hands, and we're getting the majority of it off. Going to turn that down slightly. Now, while this rack of lamb is cooking, what I want to do is put a bit of butter in the pan and just start basting it. Okay? So I'm just going to stop on my hazelnuts for a minute. I'm going to lump of butter. Nice healthy lump of butter. Pop that in the pan. We're leaving that fat side in contact with the pan. We just have a quick look at it, and it is just starting to brown nicely now. We'll find as we get a bit more fat, it's going to brown a lot quicker. So, as we've got our wild garlic as well, let's get a couple of leaves of that. Some of the flavour from that wild garlic into the butter. And we've got loads of salt and pepper in there already. What I want to do is just tilt the pan towards me, get that butter and just pour it over the lamb and start basting it. Once we've cooked this lamb in the pan, we're then going to pop it in the oven to finish off cooking. And I'd say it's not a huge rack of lamb. I think it's going to take about 20 minutes or so in the oven, maybe less, maybe 15 minutes. I've got my oven on 200. I'm going to stick it in for 20 minutes, and then that should be about right. So we've got our lovely butter there. Pour that over the lamb. Lovely, and then we've got that bit of raw meat there. We just need to make sure that that's nicely sealed as well. So just pop that up to seal the other bit. In the meantime, I'll crack on with my my hazelnuts. And what you find is as the nuts cool down, the skin actually starts to come off slightly easier as well, which is good. So like I say, we're not overly fussed if we don't get all the skin off. Just as long as we're getting, you know, half of it off or something, that's perfectly fine. And the reason we take the skin off the hazelnuts is just to you know, the skins, it's not great in texture and it's not great in flavour either. So that's why we make an effort to just at least get rid of some of it. But I can almost guarantee by the time it's in the pesto, you genuinely will not notice that you've got any skin in there. And I'm not going to use all these nuts for the pesto. I'm going to save some to use as a garnish on the dishes as well. Chopped up hazelnuts do look great on a salad or anything. So I think we'll probably sprinkle a few of the chopped up hazelnuts over the tomato and mozzarella salad with a bit of basil as well, which is great. If anyone's got any questions as well, we got quite a few over the chat last time. Luckily, been able to get back to most of you. But if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to ask, and Polly can relay them over to me, and I can try and answer them as best as I can. Yeah, good. So our rack of lamb now, nice and golden brown on the top. So spoon a bit more butter over the top, and then we're going to pop it in our 200-degree oven to bake. Okay. And on the underside there, we've just got a little bit of caramelisation as well. So that's definitely ready to go in the oven. I'm going to pop it on the baking tray rather than roasting it in the pan. You could obviously roast it in the pan, but pour that over the top. And then that's ready to go in the oven. There we go, just like that. We've got to have a wonderful flavour on it. Lovely. So now we need 50. I'm going to go 17 minutes on the timer. I'm actually going to get my phone because that's what's really important. Okay, so Siri's got the timer for me. 20 minutes and counting. There we go. So hazelnuts. We now need to we need to break these up a bit, and I think, you know, push comes to shove. The easiest way to do that is to get them in a tea towel, fold the tea towel in half, and then beat the living daylights out of them with a rolling pin. So I fold them up in this tea towel. There's no holes in it. I'm literally just going to get a rolling pin and give them a good bash. I'm sorry for the noise. And the beauty of bashing them as well is that you get a nice coarse finish to them. So that, you know, everything's not the same texture. If we just have a look at those, that's about how much I want to sort of crack them up. So what I'm going to do now is just pour those into the pesto, and then we can get our spoon and we can just start stirring that all together. Again, wonderful. And there we've got our wild garlic and hazelnut pesto. Incredible. So this is the same pesto that we're going to use later on to make our dressing. It's a very good question just coming from Rob. He's asked why you use feta and not a hard cheese. Rob, I'd love to get my hands on some Lincolnshire poacher, which is a sort of a bit more of a sort of, it's got a bit more structure to it. But unfortunately there was none in the shops, and feta was all I could get my hands on. and I've also done it before. But feta does have that lovely saltiness to it, and the wonderful flavour as well. And as you can see, it works nicely. It gives you a lovely consistency of pesto too. So I'm just going to get a teaspoon out and taste that. Obviously, I haven't put any salt in it yet because you don't want to put the salt in too early because the feta's salty, and the salt should sort of come from the feta probably in this. It's good. It's nice. But I think we need more wild garlic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more wild garlic, and I'm going to do exactly the same as I did earlier with the wild garlic. So get some hot water on. I guess wild garlic also sort of it probably differs in flavour slightly. Not all wild garlic is going to be exactly the same as other wild garlic. So we'll just add probably about the same volume again to it. So while our water's coming up to the boil, we'll start on our tomato and mozzarella salad. The tomato and mozzarella salad, all I'm doing is just getting our heritage tomatoes, some mozzarella that I'm just going to tear over the top of the tomatoes, some freshly chopped parsley, and some courgette as well. So I'm going to make a bed of courgette. Stop.
Wait, Millie wants to know, can you use other nuts apart from hazelnuts?
Yeah, you can definitely use other nuts, absolutely. So pine nuts work really, really well, and almonds work really, really well as well. I'd probably avoid cashews. I just don't think the flavour would carry through as well.
What about Brazil nuts?
Sorry?
Brazil nuts.
Brazil nuts would be delicious. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. In fact, I might even try that myself soon as well. But yeah, Brazil nuts would be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, they've got a lovely flavour to them as well. Probably not too dissimilar to hazelnut in flavour, rather they've got that sort of similar aroma. Right, so we'll get some more wild garlic blanched. So we've got our pan. Just get some water in there. We'll again wait for this to come to the rolling boil before we put any garlic in there. And then we need some water to cook our pasta with as well later on. Got quite a lot going on today. There's all sorts happening. Now, when the lamb comes out of the oven after it's had its 20 minutes, we're going to just let that lamb rest. And the reason you rest meat as well, it's similar to the reason that we bring it up to room temperature. If you pull your meat out of the oven, it's the same as sort of when you pull your hand out of that boiling water, like I was talking about earlier. Your hand sort of takes a while to get back to normal. So, and I think that's a good way to analyse why you rest meat. The muscle is going to be tense when it comes out of the oven, and it just needs time to relax. It's going to let the core of the meat get cooked properly as well, the middle of the meat, and then it's also it just lets all the juices come out of it as well, which when you slice it up, you get a wonderful looking cross section on your meat. Lovely. So we've got our boiling water, and I'm just going to add a similar amount of garlic to what I did the first time. Just a healthy handful. Now, one of you boffins is going to tell me that I didn't put salt in my water. I didn't. So let's get it in there now.
We've got another question.
Another question, hit me.
Yeah, it's from Tom. He said, what can you use instead of nuts? Because he's got a nut allergy.
So instead of nuts in a pesto, very good question. I mean, I guess you could probably miss them out. Or you could try and get something that might have a slightly nutty flavour. A vegetable like celeriac, maybe if you did some roast celeriac and put that in a pesto, I'm sure it wouldn't be too disgusting. But I mean, yeah, nuts are quite a key ingredient of pesto. I'd probably be inclined to maybe use hazelnut, not hazelnut, celeriac, or you could potentially just miss them out. The other thing you might be able to do, if you're allergic to nuts, you're not always allergic to almonds. So you could use almonds, because almonds are actually a seed rather than a nut. But don't quote me on that for your allergy day. I don't want to be responsible for your life. Probably not a good idea to ever put your life in my hands. As a general bit of advice. So lovely. We've got our wild garlic.
Rob says, what about chickpeas? Can you use them?
Chickpeas, I guess you could, yeah. I mean, I guess you'd be heading potentially more down the hummus line, maybe. But, you know, I'm sure it will work. So, this wild garlic, got it out of the water. I'm just going to wring it out this time rather than putting it in a tea towel. I mean, you get the same result, don't you? There we go. I'm going to get my knife, and I'm just, again, going to run my knife through this. Just try and get it nice and fine. So that's what, I don't know, how many hands of wild garlic we've got in there now? We've got probably 4 handfuls.
Yeah, there's loads left, isn't there?
There's loads left, yeah. I mean, it goes a really long way. You know, it'll. But the thing is with wild garlic, it doesn't last. But one thing you can do with wild garlic, I mean, I think about it. I maybe should have done it today. You can make a wild garlic oil. And to do that, you just get you probably get about a kilo of wild garlic leaves, so about 3 or 4 times that much. And then you blitz it up with about 300 mils of oil, and then just leave that sitting in some muslin, and the stuff that comes out the bottom is wild garlic oil. And then you can freeze that in an ice cube tray, and you've got this wonderful, vivid green wild garlic oil, which is just fantastic to have in the freezer. I can't say I've got any in there myself at the moment, but we should probably make some pots. So we've got our next batch of wild garlic in there now. Stirring this up, and I'm just going to taste this again and see how we're doing the flavour. Good. So we'll get a teaspoon out. Taste it. And that is incredible. If I may say so myself, that is great. Lovely. So, wild garlic pesto. I'm going to put a jar of it in the fridge to keep for another time. So, just got a little mini kilner jar. Any sort of jam jar works for this. I'm just going to fill this up with pesto. Now, because this pesto is made with feta, I probably wouldn't keep this any longer than about sort of 5-7 days, just because it probably won't last as well as Parmesan. And what we're also going to do is just pour some more oil over the top of this for storing it. Okay, so there we go. 1 jar of wild garlic pesto. Just press the surface down with your finger. Bit of oil over the top. And what that oil does is just make a vacuum on the surface so no air can get in there. And there you go. 1 jar of lovely wild garlic feta and hazelnut pesto. So we'll pop that in the fridge. Probably have that for lunch tomorrow or something. Wonderful. Right, so our lamb has probably got, what, another 10 minutes maybe? 9 minutes, not too bad. Good. So what I'm going to do now is prepare that courgette and tomato and mozzarella salad. So I've got a mixing bowl here, ready to go. Now the courgette. To prepare this, what I'm going to do, first of all I'm just going to wash it, because we're not cooking it, so make sure it's washed. And I'm going to leave the top on. I'm going to take the tail off, just like that. And with a potato peeler, and this is always a bit of an issue in this house, the potato peeler. It's a classic runaway potato peeler situation. Here we go, looking in the wrong drawer. Lovely. So what I'm going to do is get a potato peeler, and I'm just going to literally just peel through the courgette, and I'm going to carry on until I get to the seedy layer. Once you get to the seeds, stop, because otherwise the courgette gets all mushy when you and use it. So I'm just going from the other side now, all the way down the length of the courgette, preparing these lovely courgette ribbons. And then with these ribbons, I'm going to get a knife and I'm going to just chop them up a little bit finer to make the classic courgette. Courgette is wonderful stuff. You can use it pretty much as a substitute for spaghetti. I'll tell you what, if anyone's got a spiralizer at home, I keep taking the mickey out of them because I think they're a diet fad, yummy mummies, classic piece of equipment. But do you know what? They'd be pretty useful for doing this. So yeah, if you got one of them, just spiralise your courgette. So I'm just going to pick up all these bits of courgette. As long as we get them running pretty much the same direction, they're going to be fine. There we go. And I'm literally, like I said, just going to grab my knife and just slice them.
What are you going to do with the middle bit?
The middle bit's it is dud. I'm not going to use it. I mean, if you were trying to not waste it, you could turn it into a soup possibly the following day. But I'm not going to, I'm not going to use it for this, because you end up just with just a salad that's a little bit watery and bitty if you put all the seeds in. So we'll run the knife through that courgette, and then we'll have this these lovely streaks of courgette. Lovely. So that'll be wonderful once we. So what we'll do is we'll toss that up with some of our wild garlic pesto, and then we'll put some tomatoes and some mozzarella on top to make a lovely salad, and probably finish it with a little bit of pomegranate molasses as well. It's just wonderful. Got a bit of a cucumber here as well. I mean, cucumber will never go amiss in a salad. To prepare the cucumber, I'm going to just dice it into little cubes, and I'm afraid, ladies and gents, as well with the cucumber, I'm not overly interested in the seeds in the middle. So we're going to.
I might eat them.
We're going to feed them to our resident. I don't know what to call her and be polite at the same time. It's difficult, isn't it? So we'll just dice up that cucumber. We'll pop that in with the courgettes. So cutting these into nice long strips. And then going down into cubes. And, you know, the cucumber's a nice colour to have in that salad as well, and it gives it a nice texture as well. The lovely crunch of the cucumber, and relatively subtle flavour as well, which is great. So tomatoes. I'm just going to prepare these. I'm not going to actually mix them in with the courgette yet, but I'm just going to slice these. And some of them I'm going to go directly across the middle like that. Others I'm going to do on a diagonal. And then this larger one, I'm going to show you a trick with that actually in a minute. If you're super confident with a knife and you want to do a few tomatoes at the same time, what you can do is just put the tomatoes down on the chopping board like that, pop a hand on top of them, and then just use your knife to cut them in half like that. It's not nice and easy, and it saves a bit of time as well. So I'm just going to do that with the rest of them, just to save our time. Cheese, don't try this at home. If you do, make sure you sharpen your knife properly. Don't want any cut fingers, do we? Good. So this tomato, bit bigger tomatoes. I always find the seeds a bit annoying in tomatoes. They're watery and lack flavour. So I'm going to just remove the seeds. So I've cut the tomato into quarters. I'm going to run my knife around where the seeds are and just get rid of those. Just push them out with my thumb. And there you've got tomato without seeds. If you're really, really particular with your tomatoes, you could take the skin off as well. But personally, I just find it's a bit of a waste of time. And doesn't really gain you an awfully huge amount. So cut the seeds out, and then with these tomatoes I'm just going to slice them into nice thin pieces, which will look lovely when we scatter these over the top of the salad. So we've got our strips of tomato. Pop those on the plate. And we've got some parsley here, which I'm just going to finely slice. So literally just a sort of small handful of parsley. We'll just hold it by the stalks, scrunch it up, and just run your knife through. When you slice herbs, I've got one more bit of parsley here. I'm just going to show you this with. When you slice herbs, never slice a herb by just pressing down on your knife, because what you find you do is you bruise the leaf, and it ends up with the herb going all dark in colour. So when you slice herbs, basil in particular, just make sure your knife's moving all the time when you move it, when you're chopping up the herb, rather. Okay, so lovely. We've got basil there, ready to go. Parsley there, ready to go. Sprinkle over the top. We're going to sprinkle that over the top with those leftover hazelnuts, which we're going to chop up. We actually could just get on with that now. So we used about 200 grams of hazelnuts in the pesto, and we've got about 50 grams left over here to take the skin off to make our to do our garnish with. Okay, so we're just rubbing those in our hands, trying to get rid of as much skin as we can. We'll pop those on the chopping wood. Always wash your hands when you're cooking it. It's always, I find, quite easy to forget to wash your hands, but yeah, just keep doing it. Keeps it all nice and hygienic. And rather than making that racket with the rolling pin, I'm just going to chop these hazelnuts up, because you do actually get a slightly nicer finish on your nuts as well if you slice them up with a knife. No pun intended there. Really good. So just run the knife through those nuts, and then mix those up with the parsley. Who's making childish jokes?
Someone called Herbert Montgomery.
Oh yes, we know him well. Good. So another thing with when you make salads, it's always really good to just mix your salads up last minute, just before you serve everything. So make sure you got everything ready. So I've got my tomatoes ready, got my parsley and my hazelnuts ready to sprinkle over the top. I've got my my courgette and cucumber there ready to toss in with toss the pesto through. So everything's prepared now, ready to go. So it's just a case of getting everything ready. Avocado, the nation's probably the nation's favourite vegetable. That's the time of the lamb. So that's going to come out of the oven. So we've still got our avocado to do, and we've still got our pasta to do. I'm going to get that lamb out of the oven, and there we go. We've got an absolutely great looking piece of meat there. I'm prodding that with my finger. It's feeling quite soft, which means that when we slice into it, it's going to be nice and pink, and that's just what we want for a piece of lamb when it comes out of the oven. A great trick when you're trying to see if your meat's done correctly. If you were to hold your thumb onto your index finger, just very lightly, don't press it, don't tense your hand. Just literally touch your index finger and prod that bit of muscle there. If that's soft like that, that means your meat's rare. Touch your middle finger, press that. It's a little bit harder. That's what your meat feels like when it's cooked medium rare. Go onto your ring finger and poke that muscle. It's a slight bit harder, and that means that's how your meat feels when it's medium. Touch your little finger. That's how it feels like when it's medium well. And if you touch your forehead, you'll feel like how steak feels when it's well done. Which I probably shouldn't say this, but I really hope none of you ever have to eat a piece of well done steak. Good. While we're waiting for that to rest, we're not just going to leave it out there. We're going to wrap it up in tin foil. And when you wrap it in tin foil, we're going to wrap it with the butter and all the juices that it's cooked in. So I'm just going to literally get a couple of generous pieces of tin foil there, crossed over in the middle. I'm going to take my rack of lamb and pop it on the tin foil pour those roasting juices over the top. That tray is pretty hot actually. Ooh. And then I'm going to fold in at the sides, fold that over there, fold up from the back as well, and then we'll just leave that there ready to go later on when we come to slicing it up. Okay, so that's our lamb ready to go. And I mean, why not actually wrap it in a tea towel as well, just to you know harness all the warmth in there, and then that's going to be ready to eat when we come to it. So lamb's out the oven. We now need to get our pasta ready. Pasta, I think, is in here. Great, lovely. Got some lovely fusili pasta here. I'm just going to be very careful that I don't get that tea towel in the flame. I'm going to pop my pasta in the pan ready to boil. And this pasta, I mean, for pasta, it's best ingredients just to follow the instruction that says on the pack here, 3 to 5 minutes. I mean that's incredibly quick. It's quick cooked pasta. That's what. Amazing. So we've got our pasta there ready to go. We've got our we need to get some salt in with that ready to pop the water in. We're not going to put that on just yet because your lamb definitely wants about 10 minutes or so to rest. So we're just going to give that that lamb probably about 5 minutes or so before we get the pasta on. In the meantime, avocado. So avocado, lots of different ways to prepare it, but the way I tend to do it is to slice the avocado, go down through the stem, just follow the knife around the edge of the avocado, twist it to reveal the stone, and then with the knife you just hack the stone lightly, give it a twist, out comes the stone, and then I feel the easiest way to get the flesh out of it is to just get a spoon and just use the side of the spoon, press the side of the spoon against the skin. Get it out like that. So same with the other half. And there we go. So for our salad, I'm just going to get my avocado and slice it really finely, like this. I'm pressing it together slightly with a knife just to splay it apart a little bit. So same with the other half of the avocado. Oh, a little runaway bit there. I'm just using the very tip of my knife for this, and slicing it nice and fine. And then same again, just press your knife against it.
What are you doing that for?
And splay it apart. What are we doing that for? It's just for presenting it later on. So what we're going to do is just make almost a sort of long line of avocado and then roll it up. So you literally just turn it around in a circle like that. And it looks really presentable. And what we'll do is just pop that in the middle of the salad, like that. Okay, so you're almost an avocado flour kind of thing. Good. So when you buy avocados as well, what we always tend to do is just buy a few at a time. And you buy sort of one harder one slightly softer one, and one ripe one. And then you've got one to leave in the fruit bowl ready for whenever you want it, basically. Good. Lamb's got about another 5 minutes or so to rest. So at this point, I'm just going to get the kettle on with the water ready for the pasta. Then I'm going to start preparing the salad. I'm just going to pop the salad on this lovely plate here. So first of all, we've got our cucumber and courgette. we've got our wild garlic pesto. I'm just going to put 2 generous spoons of that pesto into the courgette, like so, and then with my hands I'm just going to toss the courgette and the wild garlic pesto together. That's lovely. So that's our courgette and cucumber. So I'm just going to take that over to the plate, and just with my hand I'm just going to pop some of that onto the plate. And spread it around slightly.
That's all raw, isn't it?
This is all raw, yeah. So nothing in this has been cooked. I mean, we did blanch the wild garlic, but I mean, yeah. Apart from that, the courgette's raw. The cucumber obviously is raw because you rarely cook cucumber, and yeah, the feta's raw. We have roasted the hazelnuts, and then on top of that, I'm just going to pop some tomato that we sliced earlier. So dot some tomato. And the seeds of the tomato look a lot better than the skin side. So I always tend to try and present tomatoes with the seed side up. It looks a lot more appealing. So great. So we've got our tomatoes on there, and then the avocado will pop in the middle, and then we'll finish it off with a bit of hazelnut and parsley sprinkled over the top. And there we go. So that's a nice little healthy salad made out of our wild garlic pesto. Now, for the pasta, we're going to get that on now. Got our freshly boiled water. Lovely. So to go with the lamb, we're going to use some of the same wild garlic pesto, but I'm just going to add some more oil to it, just to make it into a sort of a drizzling consistency. Because at the moment, you can see it's quite, it's not quite claggy. It's lighter than claggy, but it's certainly not a sort of a drizzling consistency. You know, pesto should hold its shape, and this certainly is. Actually, I need to make sure that I leave enough to go on the pasta. We might have to raid tomorrow's stash. So into this goes a good drizzle, probably about 20 mils of olive oil, and another 20 mils of veg oil. So just upping our oil ratios, and just to compensate for that, I'm just going to pop a little bit of salt in it as well, just to keep the flavour up. So we'll stir that together, and into that I'm also going to just pop a little squeeze of lemon juice, just to lift the flavour of it slightly. I'm sure we've got some lemon. Yeah. So got half a fresh lemon. I'm going to squeeze the juice into that wild garlic pesto. Whenever I squeeze lemon, I always hold the lemon and let the juice run through my fingers, and then I can just catch the pips in my hand when they come out of the lemon. Unfortunately, we've managed to get one in there. That's not the end of the world. So we've got that lovely stuff now ready to drizzle over the lamb wrap once it's done. We've got pasta in the pan ready to mix in with the pesto. A couple more bits on this salad. We've got our lovely sliced tomatoes, and then our mozzarella. And the mozzarella, the nicest way to prepare mozzarella is just to rip it. So I'm going to literally pinch it and pull it, pinch it and pull it, pinch it and pull it, and you can see it almost sort of comes apart in strings, and that's because of the way it's made. Mozzarella is pretty much knotted up when from the curds away into the ball we find it in the supermarket, and they always soak it in either sort of whey or buttermilk, one of the two. So a few bits of mozzarella on there. Mozzarella is just such a fantastic tasty cheese. Absolutely love it. So we've got mozzarella, and in my cupboard I'm really lucky to have a jar of dehydrated olive crumb. Now, if you want to make this at home, it's really easy. You literally get cheap black olives, and definitely best to have cheap black olives rather than expensive oily ones. The ones in brine that you buy from sort of Tesco or Morrison's or Asda or Waitrose, wherever you shop, in a jar. Put them out on a baking tray, put them in an oven at 120 degrees for about an hour, and the olives just dry up and go all shriveled up. And then you just put those in a Magimix food processor, or even just slice them up with a knife, and you get this lovely sort of olive crumb, which just adds to the presentation of the salad. So there you got a fantastic looking salad. Okay, great. Pasta now has about a minute left, so we've got our pesto there ready to mix through the pasta. We've got a bowl here ready to put it in. That bowl could be a little bit too big, but hey well. And then we need to get our plate ready to put our lamb on as well. So we've got a lovely big plate to put the lamb on. Cracking. So
what's this one again?
That one. That's the dressing for the lamb. That is. So that's our wild garlic pesto that we added about 20 ml of olive oil to and 20 ml of rapeseed oil, and we just added a little bit of lemon and salt as well, just to add to the flavour slightly.
That looks so good.
Incredible. It tastes absolutely great. So pasta. Make sure that's ready. It is, so we'll drain our pasta now. Now with the pasta, what I always tend to do is just get some cold water and just briefly run that pasta under cold water, just to stop it cooking anymore. And prevent it from getting too overdone. So return the pasta to the pan, pop the heat off, and then we're just going to get our wild garlic pesto now with the feta and the hazelnuts, all the things in there. And this is a matter of personal choice, you know, how much pesto you put in, but then just gently stir it around. You know, if you had a lovely, you know, fillet of salmon or something, other bits of meat would go with it. A lovely soup with chicken, a chicken breast. If you had pretty much any piece of protein, really, you could just pop on top of here, and you'd have a lovely, you know, meal ready to go. So a little bit more of our pesto. And you don't want to be too rough with it, just nice and gentle as you stir it in, and then we'll pop that into our bowl there, ready to go on the table.
Can you eat wild garlic raw?
You can indeed eat it raw, yeah, absolutely. I mean, lots of recipes you would just put the wild garlic in raw. I mean, like I said earlier, the reason I tend to cook wild garlic is because you're never going to guarantee that it's completely clean. You never know what might have had a little wee wee on it or something like that. But yeah, it's always good to just blanch it, because it does also take the edge off the flavour a bit as well, which is great. I mean, you could make a wild garlic pesto with raw garlic, but it'd be really punchy, and just, you know, probably slightly too strong. Now, without further ado, everything's ready apart from our wrap of lamb. So this is the sort of the real moment of truth now, I guess, isn't it? To check this is cooked right. I'm just going to put all those bits on there, on that plate, ready for lunch tomorrow. Just wash the chopping board quickly.
Do you want this over here?
lovely. Look at that. Great plate actually. My grandmother bought me this for my latest birthday. Very kind of her. Wonderful sense of style she's got. So got our rack of lamb. And actually, do you know what? We got all those roasting juices from the lamb as well, so it'd be silly not to just throw those in with the pesto. Stir that up once again. And I'm going to get a really sharp knife to cut the lamb with. Good old carving knife. Now, to slice the lamb, I'm literally just going to go between the bones. Like that. And as you can see, that lamb, lamb should never be brown all the way through. It should always have a bit of pink in it. And I think, you see a lot of lamb when it's cooked on MasterChef and stuff where it's left really, really pink. But to get the real flavour out of lamb, you need to get the lamb hot enough that the fat renders in it. And this, I'd say is how I like to have my lamb personally. Good. Now, just before that goes on the plate, what we're going to do is get our tea towel. And we're going to just damp the lamb on the tea towel just to get rid of any juices that's coming out of it. And then that means when we put it on the plate, it looks really nice and presentable, and you don't end up with all your meat sat in this sort of pile of blood. So we'll get this on the plate now.
I'm so hungry watching this.
You got your lovely rack of lamb in the middle there. And then we'll finish that with a spoon of our delicious wild garlic pesto. And then we have got a tiny bit left, so we might as well just pop that on the side there to go with it. Okay, and there we go. So today we've got our wild garlic pesto pasta. We've got our wild garlic pesto courgette and mozzarella salad, and our wild garlic pesto and rack of lamb there. And the lamb cooked just nice and pink. So that rack of lamb had actually 20 minutes in a 200-degree oven. That rack of lamb also was quite a small rack of lamb. I'd say if you were to buy a rack of lamb and it's got a thick layer of fat on the top, just around here, if that layer of fat's a bit thicker and maybe it's got another bit of meat in there, then you might want to leave it in the oven 25 minutes to compensate. But aside from that, thank you very much for watching. We've got a piece of stray lamb here. That's the chef's taster, that is.
Look how much we've got left. It's good.
We've got loads of wild garlic left. Yeah, so that's probably enough to make at least 150, 200 mils of wild garlic oil. So I might do that tomorrow. And then, like I say, you can put it in an ice cube tray in the freezer, and it's ready to use up whenever you want it. Like I say, thank you very much for watching. It's absolutely, it really is overwhelming to see how many people have sort of tagged onto this and watched the video. To think that 2,000 people wanted to watch me in the world, it's really quite amazing. So we're going to carry on with these. We'll be back again on Tuesday at 8 o'clock with another episode. And I haven't quite decided what we're going to do. We've been inundated with requests. So I'll give it some thought, and I'm sure you'll find a lot out on the day from Polly's fantastic social media coverage. And great. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all on Tuesday. Cheerio. Take care. Bye.